Last week at the Game Developer Conference 2022 we got some exciting tech news, especially regarding Xbox, and in this video we are going to cover the highlights, like some news on the DirectStorage solution and how this is a key component of the Velocity architecture, the integration of FSR 2.0 into the Xbox development kit, and even though that's not tech news, we got an interesting insight in how the business of Gamepass works. So let's talk about GDC 2022. Hello gamers from around the world, this is Boxenberger, the video game enthusiast from Germany, with my latest video covering multiple news coming out of GDC 2022. And should you end up enjoying yourself while watching this video, it would be awesome of you to consider to hit the like and subscribe button and maybe even turn on the notification bell to not miss out on future content. Okay, thank you guys for the outstanding support, and now let's talk about the Xbox Velocity architecture and especially the DirectStorage technology. The Xbox Velocity architecture is this toolset that leverages different technologies either from the RDNA 2 and Zen 2 architecture of the GPU and CPU or from DirectX 12 Ultimate. And one of these features is DirectStorage, which is the technology that allows developers to utilize the SSD in your system way more efficiently and therefore freeing up CPU resources. Now at GDC 2022, Microsoft gave a talk about DirectStorage mainly for PC and how this technology that was so far only available on Xbox Series X and S consoles is now making its way to PC, and while doing so they revealed some great information how DirectStorage actually works and how big the improvements are to be expected. Before we dive into the details, I want to briefly elaborate why this is so important and interesting for console owners. We all know that Xbox is developing their games not only for the console space, but also the games are released on PC as well. And when you develop a game and you think about which technologies you want to use and build your actual gameplay on, not just graphics but gameplay or mechanics, you always have to build your game around the lowest common denominator in terms of hardware, and that's in this case the minimum specs of a game on PC. Now with DirectStorage coming to PC, game developers can now actually leverage that technology, and with that the lowest common hardware denominator just got a significant upgrade. But how does this technology work? Microsoft explained that one of the key features of this DirectStorage technology is accelerated data decompression. Now why is this required? If you store your game data uncompressed on your hard drive, of course that would be the fastest way, because then you can simply copy the data from your SSD into the memory pool of, for instance, your GPU, which is the memory pool where the data is required in order to be processed. But of course, storing your data uncompressed on a SSD would take up a lot of space, and that's why all game data is stored in a compressed format on your SSD. And obviously this requires a decompression of the data before it's copied into the respective memory pool. This decompression is usually done by the CPU, and of course that takes up resources, and that's where the biggest benefit from DirectStorage comes from. They have a custom decompression queue that allows either for hardware accelerated decompression, which is supported by certain CPUs, or they handle the pipeline in a way more efficient way, and with that Microsoft is promising CPU savings of 20 to 40%, of course depending on the NVMe SSD and the compression format on your system. Now again, this presentation was focused around PC, but of course this is the architecture that is also used in the consoles, and it just shows you that when developers start to use the DirectStorage API, there is a significant improvement in CPU performance to be expected, which should basically translate into better and more consistent frame rates. And there was another interesting thing shown at GDC, and that comes from the technical director at Luminous, the makers of the upcoming Forspoken. On PC, this will be the first game to support this DirectStorage API, and they have compared some load times of different SSDs and HDDs to a Win32 traditional API. Interesting stuff, my friends. So overall this was quite interesting because we now have a better idea what developers can do across Xbox consoles and PC, and I do wonder if the current gen only games like Starfield and Redfall later this year will make use of this API. Okay, but I want to move on to another big topic at GDC 2022, and that was Fidelity FX Super Resolution 2.0 from AMD. They have announced prior to GDC that FSR 2.0 is coming later this year. In my video last week I covered in detail how FSR 2.0 works and what the improvements are and why this is an exciting step for this intelligent upscaling technology. You can find the link to this video in the description down below, and I want to focus here on the news that FSR 2.0 will now be natively supported by the Xbox GDK, the development kit for the Xbox consoles. Now, why is this an exciting news piece? Well, Fidelity FX Super Resolution 1.0 was introduced last year, and we have only seen a very small amount of games supporting this technology on console. The remake of Myst or Riftbreaker come to mind, but overall this technology was mainly supported on PC. Now, with the announcement that FSR 2.0 is fully supported by the Xbox development kit, that means that this technology is now significantly easier to implement into Xbox games. And no, I'm not saying that this is an Xbox exclusive technology. On the contrary, FSR was designed to work on a wide range of devices, but the implementation on console is now the easiest on Xbox consoles because it's the only console development kit that supports FSR 2.0 natively. And AMD has shown an interesting graph on how long they expect it will take developers to implement FSR 2.0 in games. The fastest implementation can happen if a game already supports DLSS 2, and also an implementation in Unreal Engine 4 or 5 titles is done fairly quickly because they have a dedicated plugin for that. All other games depend on whether they already have a temporal anti-aliasing solution implemented or not, and it will take the longest for games that do not support motion vectors in their rendering pipeline. And again, if you are interested what that all means, I highly recommend my video on how FSR 2.0 works. Nevertheless, this is particularly exciting for Xbox Series owners because it is now easier than ever before for developers to actually implement this technology in games, and I can't wait to see how the support for FSR 2.0 will actually be. And that brings me to my next topic of this video, and that is the economics of Gamepass. Yes, at the Game Developer Conference not only technical topics are covered, but also other things that concern game developers. And of course one thing is Gamepass. Developers of course ask themselves the questions like, can they still be monetized if they are not part of Gamepass? Is monetization a profitable thing for them when they bring their game into the subscription service, and how does Gamepass work in terms of customer engagement? Now, only yesterday PlayStation announced their new subscription service, and with that the reoccurring discussion about games not performing well in terms of revenue when they enter a subscription service is out there again. That's why I wanted to make this a topic here, because I find it really interesting that we are still discussing whether developers make enough money or not, and you, the informed viewer of this channel, will definitely know about monetization in a subscription service like Game Pass. So Microsoft explained that based on their data they have seen that Game Pass subscribers are willing to invest more money into their gaming experiences. They have seen that the gamer who subscribed to Game Pass spends on average 60% more for game purchases. He or she spends in average 45% more on gaming add-ons, and again 45% more on average on consumables like cosmetics and stuff. Now this just shows you that Game Pass subscribers are willing to spend on average 50% more money on gaming than a gamer who is not subscribed, and that just shows you that it is very well sustainable for a game to be implemented in a subscription service like Game Pass. They also have shown some other very interesting statistics, like gamers playing 30% more genres after joining Game Pass in the first 90 days after the subscription. It's what many have been saying, that the benefit of being able to try out new genres and games without having that paywall of the actual purchase of a game in front of them allows them to try out new genre and games, and that especially helps smaller developers, aka the indie developer. They have seen a tremendous growth in revenue, and it's not free to play games, that's pay to play games. When compared to 2016, the time before Game Pass existed, of course the industry has seen a growth in general about 110%, and on top of that comes an additional 190% for those indie games that are included in Game Pass, making a total average growth of 300% in revenue thanks to Game Pass. And that is just amazing, and that's why Game Pass gamers play on average 40% more titles after they joined Game Pass. So I do hope that this comes up in the discussion on social media and media outlets when the value of a subscription service is described, and when we talk about sustainability of games launching day and date into Game Pass. Obviously Game Pass is very sustainable, and not just for the developers but also for the platform holders, because Microsoft has reported quarter after quarter record-breaking revenue and earnings thanks to Game Pass and other services. Alright, but with that I want to wrap it up. GDC 2020 was an interesting one, and we have learned some cool things about technology and economics of the gaming industry. Of course, there were a lot more tech news presented at the developer conference, but DirectStorage and FSR 2.0 are the two that I think most gamers will see the results of very soon, and I definitely wanted to make sure that we discussed it properly on this channel. Cause we have heard it for the last 18 months that almost none of the games that we play today do make use of the technology that is available in the current gen consoles, and this is going to change because later this year we will get the first current gen only games, and with that we will see a lot of the technology that is actually in the box in action. But for now, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did so, please do not forget to hit the like and subscribe button as well as the notification bell. And if you want to support the channel even further, you can now become a channel member and get early access to my videos and custom made badges and emojis. So let me thank everyone who supports this channel in any kind of way. You guys are awesome and make this channel to what it is. And if you want to have even more gaming discussions, I highly recommend to check out my podcast called The World of Gaming here on this YouTube channel, which airs every Thursday 8 PM Central Europe time, 2 PM Eastern or 7 PM UK time. This is a podcast from and with the community discussing all the things that the world of gaming has to offer, including games, news and technology. And now, let me know in the comments down below, what do you think of DirectStorage? Are you excited for FSR 2.0? And besides here on YouTube, you can also hit me up on Twitter, where I share a lot of opinions and gaming discussions. But for now, thank you very much for watching, I see you the next time, and game on!